So, in the next two lectures, we are going to deal with isotropic hyperelasticity and compressible Neo-Hookean material. Okay. So, following is the content of the next two lectures. We will first discuss the isotropic hyperelasticity in the material description, followed by in the spatial description. Okay. And then we will discuss some of the hyperelastic material models that are usually employed. Finally, for one particular type of compressible hyperelastic material model, that is Neo-Hookean material model, we will derive the constitutive relation and also the material or the spatial elasticity tensor, which is required for the numerical implementation. Okay. So, the hyperelastic constitutive equations that we discussed in the previous lectures, they were all general. Okay. That is, they were applicable to any hyperelastic material. Okay. But now, we focus on isotropic hyperelasticity, okay, and we will try to develop their constitutive response, that is the relation between the stress and the strain. Okay. So, isotropic means that the material response at a point is same in all the material directions. Okay. So, this means that the stored strain energy potential psi, okay, and the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor C, okay, must be independent of the choice of material axis, okay, which is used to describe the material constitutive response. Okay. So, the relation between psi and C must be independent of the choice of material axis. What this actually means is that the strain energy potential psi should depend on the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor C through the invariants of C. That is, psi should depend on the first invariant of the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor, the second invariant of the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor, and the third invariant of the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor. And from our discussion earlier that we had, we know that the three invariants of a second order tensor, okay, their magnitude do not change with the change in the coordinate system. Okay. So, what it actually means is mathematically psi, which has to be a function of right Cauchy Green deformation tensor and the material particle x, should indeed depend on C through its three invariants. Okay. So, the three invariants here contain C. Okay. So, we define the first invariant of right Cauchy Green deformation tensor as the trace of right Cauchy Green deformation tensor C, or the double contraction of C with the second order identity tensor. This in turn can be written in indicial notation as C K K. Okay. The second invariant of the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor, okay, is defined as trace of C square, okay, which is nothing but the double contraction of C with itself, okay, and this in indicial notation can be written as CKL into CKL. Okay. And the third invariant of the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor is nothing but the determinant of the right Cauchy deformation tensor, and which is nothing but J square, where J is the Jacobian and J is nothing but the determinant of deformation gradient tensor. Okay. So, the second Piola-Kirchhoff stress tensor we have already seen in our previous module, okay, that S can be derived as twice the partial derivative of strain energy density potential psi with respect to the right Cauchy Green deformation tensor, or del psi by del E, where E is the Green Lagrange strain tensor. Okay. So, now if you substitute equation 1 in equation 5 here, what you get? You get the second Pavlov-Kirchhoff stress tensor is nothing but twice of del psi by del C, and psi is function of the 3 invariants and the material particles position. Okay. So, now I can use chain rule in equation 6, and then I can express the second Pavlov-Kirchhoff stress tensor as twice of del psi by del IC. Okay. So, because psi depends directly on the first invariant, the second invariant and the third invariant of the right Cauchy Green tensor, therefore, we will have del psi by del I C and into del IC by del C plus del psi by del 2C into del 2C by del C, okay, and del psi by del 3C into del 3C by del C. Okay. This is the simple chain rule which has been applied. Okay. Now, because psi has been given in terms of I, C, 2C and 3C, that is the 3 invariants, it is easy to compute these terms. Okay. These 3 terms can be easily computed. The problem is we have to compute the derivatives of these 3 invariants of the second order tensor C with respect to the tensor C itself. Okay. Now, let us see how to do that. Okay. So, the derivative of the first invariant of the right Cauchy Green tensor with respect to the right Cauchy Green tensor can be written in initial form as del IC by del C Ij, okay, where the first invariant is nothing but the trace in initial notation is nothing but C k k. Okay. So, now I can substitute this here, and then what I have is del C k k by del C I j. Okay. Now, I know that del C k k by del C I j is nothing but del k I into del k j, where del is the Kronecker delta. Okay. So, this del is nothing but the Kronecker delta. Okay. So, now I can use the substitution property of the Kronecker's delta. So, del k I by del k j. Okay. So, if I rub this, so because k is common, if you remember the substitution property, the common symbol drops out and we get delta I j. In direct notation, delta I j is nothing but the second order identity tensor. Okay. So, this I is nothing but the second order identity tensor. Okay. Now, we come to the second term, okay, which is the derivative of the second invariant of the right Cauchy Green tensor with respect to right Cauchy Green tensor. So, this in initial notation is del 2C by del C I j, okay, and then 2C in initial notation is C k L into C k L. Okay. So, that is what we are going to do, we are going to substitute it here. Okay. So, when you substitute, you get this equation and then you take the derivative. So, the derivative of the, so because this is product, so you have the derivative of the first term into the second term plus the first term into the derivative of the second term. Okay. Then del C k L by del C I j will be nothing but, okay, So, we can see that these two terms are both same. So, I can just write it as twice of CKL into del CKL by del Cij, and we see that del CKL by del Cij from our previous slide is nothing but delta Ki into delta Kj, okay. And then this becomes nothing but delta, okay, sorry. So, this is delta Ki delta Lj, okay, and this becomes nothing but 2 Cij, okay. This becomes 2 Cij, and in direct notation this is nothing but twice of the Wright-Cauchy-Green deformation tensor C, okay. Now, we have to compute the third term, which is the derivative of the third invariant of the Wright-Cauchy-Green tensor with respect to the Wright-Cauchy-Green tensor itself. So, this in initial notation is del 3C by del Cij. Now, we know that 3C is nothing but j square, okay. So, we just substitute it here, okay, and what we get is del 3C by del Cij is del j square by del Cij, okay. So, this becomes nothing but, so I can take chain rule, okay, I can apply chain rule here. So, that is what we have done, that is del j square by del j into del j by del Cij. So, del j square by del j is nothing but 2j, and then you have the second term. So, to evaluate this third term, we have to evaluate what is del j by del Cij, okay. So, now let us evaluate del j by del Cij, which in direct notation is nothing but del j by del C. Now, I know that j square is determinant of C, therefore, j is nothing but square root of determinant of C. So, I just substitute square root of determinant of C. So, my term becomes del by del C of square root of determinant of C, okay. So, now I can again apply chain rule. So, this term over here is del by del determinant C of square root of determinant of C into del by del C of determinant of C, okay. So, now the first term becomes minus, okay, 1 by 2, okay, determinant of C into minus 1 by 2, okay, and del by del C of determinant of C, okay. Now, determinant of C is nothing but j square, and we know that the partial derivative, okay, of the determinant of a tensor, okay, with respect to the tensor itself is nothing but determinant of the tensor times the tensor inverse transpose, okay. And now, this is what goes here, okay. So, you have this coming from the second term and this one coming from the first term, okay. So, eventually, and also because C is symmetric, therefore, C inverse transpose is nothing but C inverse, because C is symmetric, therefore, C inverse itself is symmetric, okay. Therefore, C inverse is nothing but C inverse transpose. So, if you use this, then we get minus 1 by 2 j inverse into j square C inverse, okay. And then when you substitute all this, okay, you get del 3C by del Cij, okay. Okay, so this should be plus, okay, sorry, this should be plus. So, you get del 3c by del Cij is 2j del j by del Cij, okay, and this is nothing but twice of j into 1 by 2 j inverse j square C inverse. So, this j inverse cancels out, this 2 and this 2 cancel out, and what you are left with is j square C inverse. Okay. So, now you have evaluated the third term. Okay. So, now we substitute equation 8, equation 9, equation 12 in equation 8. Okay. So, we already have evaluated. Okay. Let us see. Okay. So, this equation 8, equation 9 and our equation 12. These three we substitute in equation number 7. Okay. So, this is your equation number 7, sorry. So, once you substitute it here, okay. So, del IC by del C is nothing but second order identity tensor. This term is nothing but 2C and this third term is nothing but j square C inverse. Okay. So, what you get? You get twice del C by del IC into identity tensor plus twice del psi by del 2C into C plus j square del psi by del 3C into C inverse. In short, I can write, if I write the first term, okay, the first derivative, in short I can write the psi subscript 1, the second term I can write psi subscript 2, and the third term I can write psi subscript 3. If I use this notation and if I open up the bracket, take 2 inside, what I get? The second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor is given by 2 psi 1 into I plus 4 psi 2 into C plus 2 j square psi 3 into C inverse. Okay. So, you have 3 terms which come in the expression for second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor. So, given psi, you can compute what is psi 1, what is psi 2 and what is psi 3, okay, because psi will be given in terms of I, C, 2C and 3C. So, you can compute all these 3 expressions and you can substitute it in equation number 14 and then finally, you will get the final expression, okay, for the second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor. Once we have this, the expressions for second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor, we can compute the Cauchy stress tensor. To compute the Cauchy stress tensor, we know the relation between the Cauchy stress and the second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor, which is given by J inverse Fs F transpose. Okay. So, from equation 14, I can substitute the expression of second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor S here, and then what I get? The second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor is this expression over here. This is already we had in our previous slide. So, this I can substitute here. Okay. So, what I get? J inverse into F into this expression for second Euler-Kirchhoff stress tensor into F transpose. Okay. Now, I can take F and F transpose inside the bracket. Okay. I can open up the bracket. I get 2 J inverse psi 1 F F transpose plus 4 J inverse psi 2 F C F transpose plus 2 J psi 3 into F C inverse F transpose. Okay. So, we now know that C is F transpose F. Okay. So, the right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor is F transpose F and the left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor is nothing but FF transpose. Okay. So, this term over here is nothing but left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor. This term over here is nothing but F and C is F transpose F. So, here I have F transpose F into F transpose, and now I can recognize these terms. okay, this term is nothing but left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor, this is also left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor, okay, and this over here is F, and C inverse is nothing but F inverse transpose into F transpose, okay. So, F inverse is nothing but identity, and F inverse transpose F transpose is nothing but again identity, okay. So, identity into identity gives me second order identity tensor. So, and this B into B is nothing but B square, okay. So, if I use all these in equation 16, what I get? Equation 16 reduces to sigma equal to 2 j inverse psi 1 into B plus 4 j inverse psi 2 into B square plus 2 j psi 3 into second order identity tensor I, okay. So, with this I can compute my Cauchy stress tensor at a material location, okay. So, all I need to get is psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, but remember these psi 1, psi 2 and psi 3 are derivative of psi with respect to the invariants of right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor C, okay. But we have left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor here, okay. So, this derivatives psi 1, psi 2, psi 3 are still with respect to the invariants of right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor C, okay. But we can easily show that the invariants of B, let us say the invariants of B are 1B, say 2B and 3B. So, the invariants of B, that is the left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor, are same as that of C, that is the right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor, and hence this will not matter whether you are given psi in terms of the invariants of B or invariants of C. What it means is that the first invariant of B is same as the first invariant of C, the second invariant of B is same as the second invariant of C, the third invariant of B is same as third invariant of C. So, let us show, okay. So, let us show the first case, okay. Then the first invariant of B is nothing but trace of B, okay. B is nothing but F transpose. So, I substitute F transpose, okay. And now I know the property of trace, that trace of A B transpose is same as trace of A transpose B, okay. That we discussed already in the mathematical preliminaries that we had in the initial half of the present course, okay. So, now trace of A B transpose is trace of A transpose B. So, A here is F, B here is F transpose. So, what we get is trace of F transpose F, and F transpose F is nothing but your right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor C, which is nothing but trace of C, and trace of C is nothing but the first invariant of right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor. So, you can see the first invariant of left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor is same as the first invariant of the right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor, okay. Similarly, I can show for the second invariant. So, I start similarly, trace of the second invariant of B is nothing but trace of B square, which I can write trace of B into B. Now, B is nothing but F transpose, okay. So, this is first B and this is second B, okay. And now, I can use the same property, okay, that trace of A B transpose is nothing but trace of A transpose B, and I can write trace of F transpose F into F transpose F, and F transpose F is nothing but C, and the second F transpose F is also equal to C, and this is nothing but equal to trace of C square, which nothing but is the second invariant of the right Cauchy-Green tensor C. So, we have shown that the second invariant of the left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor B is same as the second invariant of the right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor C. Okay. Coming to the third invariant, which is nothing but the determinant. Okay. So, the third invariant of the left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor is nothing but the determinant of B. B is nothing but F transpose, okay, and trace of determinant of F transpose is same as determinant of F transpose F, okay, and this F transpose F is nothing but C. Okay. So, this is nothing but determinant of C, and this is nothing but the third invariant of the right Cauchy-Green deformation tensor. Okay. So, we have shown that the third invariant of the left Cauchy-Green tensor is same as the third invariant of the right Cauchy-Green tensor. Okay. So, what it means is it does not matter if in equation 17 whether you are given psi in terms of invariants of B or invariants of C. You just have to compute psi 1, psi 2, psi 3 and then simply substitute it here, and you will get the expression for the Cauchy stress tensor. Okay. So, now we can derive an alternative expression for the Cauchy stress tensor, okay, directly from the terms of the left Cauchy-Green tensor. Okay. So, to do that we start with the following expression. We note that the left Cauchy-Green deformation tensor is symmetric, which is B equal to B transpose, and it is nothing but equal to FF transpose. Now, if I take the material time derivative of B, which is nothing but the material time derivative of FF transpose, okay. So, I get F dot F transpose plus F into F dot transpose. So, the material time derivative of the deformation gradient tensor is nothing but the velocity gradient tensor F L into the deformation gradient tensor F. Okay. So, I can substitute this here, okay. F dot is LF, I can substitute here and I can get the material time derivative of the left Cauchy-Green tensor as the velocity gradient tensor times the left Cauchy-Green tensor into the left Cauchy-Green tensor times the transpose of the velocity gradient tensor. Okay. Now, the internal energy per unit undeformed volume, okay. Note that I am writing undeformed volume, is given by the material time derivative of psi, okay, into del psi by del B double contracted with B dot, okay. Or if I substitute B dot as L B plus B L transpose here, I get psi dot as del psi by del B double contracted with L B plus B L transpose. Okay. Now, del psi by del B is a symmetric second order tensor, and if you notice, if I this divided by 2 and multiply by 2, this term over here then becomes the symmetric part of a second order tensor, and because del psi by del B is a symmetric tensor, therefore, I can write this, okay, as L B minus the anti-symmetric part, okay, because this is the symmetric part of tensor L B. Okay. So, the symmetric part will be nothing but the tensor L B minus the anti-symmetric part, and because del psi by del B is a symmetric tensor, second order tensor, so its double contraction with this anti-symmetric part will be equal to 0, and therefore, we will be left with only the tensor itself, second order tensor itself, which is nothing but LB. So, the material time derivative of the internal energy per unit undeformed volume, okay, is psi dot equal to 2 del psi by del B double contracted with LB. Okay. Now, if I use the property, okay, this property that where A, B, C are second order tensor, A double contracted with the product of two second order tensor B and C is nothing but A C transpose double contracted with B. Okay. Now, my A here is del psi by del B, my B here is L and my C here is B. Okay. So, if I use this, okay, then I can write psi dot as 2 del psi by del B into B double contracted with velocity gradient tensor L. Okay. Now, I can write the internal energy per unit deformed volume in terms of the Cauchy stress tensor sigma and the velocity gradient tensor L as. So, the internal energy per unit deformed volume is given by sigma double contracted with L. Okay. Therefore, now this psi dot is the internal energy per unit undeformed volume. So, for an undeformed volume dV0, this will be total internal energy will be psi dot into dV0. Okay. And this is for the same volume, but in the deformed configuration. So, the internal energy for volume dV will be nothing but sigma double contracted with L dV. Okay. And now, we know that dV is J dV0. Okay. I can substitute this here and I can get the same energy as J sigma L dV 0. Okay. So, the internal energy in the undeformed or the deformed configuration, whether you express in undeformed or the deformed configuration, is both same. Therefore, I can equate this term over here with this term over here. So, these two terms can be equated because they both are same, they represent the same energy. So, therefore, I have J sigma double contracted with the velocity gradient tensor is equal to psi dot equal to 2 del psi by del B, B double contracted with L. Okay. Now, if I see there is a double contraction with L on both the side, therefore, this term over here should be equal to this term over here. Okay. So, if I do this, if I just equate the two terms on the left hand side of the double contraction symbol, I get my Cauchy stress tensor sigma directly in terms of the left Cauchy Green tensor B, which is nothing but 2 times J inverse del psi by del B into B. Okay. So, with this we now have our expression for the Cauchy stress tensor directly in terms of the left Cauchy Green tensor. Okay. Now, before we move on to our derivation of constitutive relation for Newtonian material, it is good to look into an overview of different kind of hyperelastic material models which are available. Okay. So, this is not an exhaustive list, but this just gives you the most popular ones which are out there in the literature. So, the first type of models are what is called phenomenological models, okay, which are based on descriptions on the observed behavior. Okay. So, you observe the behavior of the material and you develop these models. So, some of the examples are the Fung model, the polynomial model, Yeo model, Mooney-Rivlin model, Saint-Venant-Kirchhoff model, Marlowe model, Ogden model. Okay. So, Saint-Venant-Kirchhoff we already have seen, okay, in our previous model. The other type of models are mechanistic models. In mechanistic models, they are descriptions based on underlying structure of the material. Okay. So, one observes the actual structure of the hyperelastic material, and then these models are prepared, okay, or proposed. So, two examples are the Aruda-Boyce model and the Neo-Hookean material model. Okay. And the third kind of models are the combination of the phenomenological models and the mechanistic models, and example are Ghent model and van der Waals model. Okay. So, there are different kind of hyperelastic models which are available. In the present course, we will deal with a compressible Neo-Hookean material model. Okay. And then what are the applicability of some of these hyperelastic material models? For example, the Neo-Hookean material model will give you appreciable result if the strain range is less than 30%. Okay. If the strain range is between 30 to 200, you can use Money-Rivlin. Polynomial models up to 300% of the strain range. Aruda-Boyce models for all strain range less than 300%, and Ogden model can accurately predict the hyperelastic material behavior for strain range up to 700%. Okay. So, with this we now move to our discussion on the constitutive relation for a compressible Neo-Hookean material model, okay, which is shown over here. Okay. Thank you.